Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Coach Darwin, and you are watching the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa. And we are live both in Facebook at the Facebook page of the Philippines HR Group, as well as LinkedIn, and of course, the Facebook page of the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay at Iba Pa. Welcome again to the HR Cafe, and we have a very interesting topic for today. Our topic for today is about leading through change and building organizational resilience in the rise of AI and automation. So before I introduce our speaker for today, I would like to encourage everyone to please tag your friends, your HR network, share it in your social media so that more people will be able to watch the free learning that we'll be having for today. It's a beautiful Sunday. It's kind of rainy here in Metro Manila, but this is an opportunity to add value to our community because, again, we have a very interesting topic coming from an expert speaker that we've invited. Okay, so again, please share and tag all your friends and watch right now the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay Iba Pa. We've been doing the HR Cafe since the height of the pandemic, March 2020. And we've been doing this for almost 5 years. And throughout those years, we've guessed hundreds of experts, leaders, HR leaders, thought leaders that provides impactful and valuable information, sharing their knowledge and experience to our community. So right now, we have as our guest speaker the current APAC People Services for Food Panda and Delivery Heroes, Mr. Jonathan Tam. Jonathan is an experienced people leader with more than 20 years of operations and project management, privileged to support areas that crosses customer service, information technology, banking and finance, and human resource delivery. He is a licensed CPHR practitioner, a safety officer 3, and a Six Sigma trained professional looking to amplify efficient delivery in the workspace by being an advocate of continuous improvement in organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud and happy to present to you our speaker for today for our free webinar, Mr. Jonathan Tam. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Coach Darwin. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, Coach Darwin.
Good, beautiful Sunday. Again,
Happy rain.
it's a rainy Sunday, but we're here to provide valuable knowledge and what you call this inputs to our audience. Now, before we go to uh, your main topic, I
Sure.
would just like to ask you, how did Jonathan became the APAC leader for HR of Food Panda? I mean, we would like to know more about your journey as an HR leader.
Yeah.
This would help inspire more people who are watching us and who will be watching us in our replays across LinkedIn, Facebook, and also in YouTube.
Thank you, Coach Darwin. First, I want to thank you all for having me. Thank you for inviting me in this rainy Sunday afternoon here in the Philippines now. I'm in Tagaytay. That's the jacket. No, it's really cold. But tara, kape tayo. So, yes, to your question, I started really unintentional HR. Unintentional HR. Just want to emphasize that it's unintentional because I started my career 20 years. I know you are all counting. Don't count with the age. No, I started 12. Um, no, but I started with customer service back in 2004. It was just a kind of a after session thinking. We saw a lot of folks in the call center industry in Eastwood, and we thought, hey, maybe we can apply. And I was still in college back then, and then I did and took the job, and then the rest is history. Now transitioning over to HR. There was an opportunity after me taking on the Six Sigma training back with JP Morgan Chase, that they wanted to build and start the HR shared service for JP Morgan Chase APAC in the Philippines. With the Six Sigma training that I took, that gave me an opportunity to showcase that, hey, um, we might be able to apply how to do this shared service here in the Philippines. And then from there on, we started from APAC, then North America, and then moved to different facets, to different organizations as well. And now I am looking after the APAC People Services for Food Panda and Delivery Hero entities, because now it's more than Food Panda that we are taking care of. So yeah, I mean, I think I would still call that unintentional, because I was an operations person, as like what you said in your introduction. And then as I transitioned over, I realized what we can do in operations, we can do in HR. So that's how relatable our work is, in this space in the shared service. Yeah. So that's me, Coach Darwin. I'm not sure if there is a follow up question on that. Um, but I am saying hi to everyone joining the stream. Um, and please, again, like what Coach Darwin said, go on and tag your friends, tag your HR colleagues. And sama-sama tayo magkape. Sabay-sabay tayo magkape in this rainy Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Okay, looks like Coach Darwin is not online right now. Let's give it a few, and then if not, I can jump right ahead into the presentation. I hope everybody's doing okay, well, and safe on this Sunday afternoon. Um, we all have some religious obligations somehow as well, so we'll make it very concise but very interactive for the rest of the presentation. Okay, just checking in with Coach Darwin. See if I can proceed and jump into the topic. Okay, yeah, Coach Darwin just restarted his computer, and he would join us before we begin the topic. And again, if you have questions, I believe the chat option is available for us. Hey, Coach Darwin, welcome back.
Yeah, hi everyone. Apologies. I'm having some technical problems right now with my laptop, so I'm using my mobile phone. But yes, Jonathan, please continue.
Yeah, well, no, I've already shared my unintentional HR journey, coming from operations and now going into HR, because our job in HR is somehow operational, but having people in mind at first. Kaya nga human first before the resource, right? So, with as cliche as it may sound, that would remain. However you coin the HR term, it would still be people. It's the people and culture, people, team, talent, human resource. However you call it, it's still gonna be human first. So
I definitely agree. I myself came from operations. I started my career as an agent, moved my way to becoming an operations leader, and decided that I would follow my heart to pursue a career in HR. But you know what, Jonathan? One of the things that dawned on me when I was shifting my career from operations to HR, aside from there's a lot of things that HR is doing that we're also doing in operations, like mitigating problems, training, hiring for our own team members, succession planning, and whatnot. There are also some critical items or critical issues that we normally face, right? I mean, it helps that we know how operations talks and thinks, but somewhere along the road, do you find it hard to actually explain your decisions to your ops leader, given that you're now in HR and you're coming from operations?
yeah, That's a good question, Coach Sharwin, because that's a valid point, right? It's there's not going to be an exact science for this because um, even though we feel that we know that we know how operations operate, there are still areas as well as HR, since we are looking after the people, that we often have to think about people first over the business, which is the perception, right? But the more as an approach that I share with this is the more that we bring in this responsibility together with operations, um, and not just, oh, it's HR's job. Succession planning is HR's job. No,
Employee
Cul-
engagement is HR's
employee
job
engagement,
now.
exactly. Culture building, employee engagement. No, sa HR yan. Bato mo sa HR. No, it's gonna be a combined and shared responsibility. And the more that we bring them on board, them meaning operations on board, the easier we can share why we are saying that these are the processes and principles that we're implementing. No, I know it's easier said than done, pero the more that you do it, the more that you get consistent about it, the more that you explain your why in a language that an operator would understand, um, the more it would resonate to them. Because they would see it on our perspective now because we're also trying to see it from their perspective. So it's a partnership. Kaya nga may HR business partners tayo, right? Like that's why we call them business partners because we are their partners. We're
Agree.
not meant to be the contrabidas of the lives of people, right? In a business side, we are meant to partner with our business. I hope that
And
matters.
agree. Totally agree on what you've said. HR already pivoted from being transactional to being HR business partners to being partner of lead of operations in terms of scaling up the business. But what would you share to all of these people, to all the people that are listening right now, watching right now, and to all the people who will be watching the replay? What is your secret sauce? What are your I want to say recommendations if you're going to start your career in HR coming from a different department?
Oh, wow, that's a good question, Coach Darwin, because like you and myself, there's that transition and it was unintentional, right? One suggestion or tip I can share is that try to find your purpose into the new role when you shift to HR. It's don't treat it as, oh, that's my ticket to get promoted, or that's my ticket to being known in a company that people would go to me for their people needs, right? Don't have it that way. Think of it that what is your intention in going? How do you create an impact and change in the HR space so that you would come across that you have a good intention in the function? Because the moment that you kind of just aspire for the title or for the responsibility, that would give you or set you to failure because you're trying to adapt to something that you are not. So I think it will still be better, similar to my experience where I looked at HR and said, oh, I think I can apply what I've learned in Six Sigma. I think I can apply my operational aspect in terms of how do I create a knowledge base for employees to know what their people needs? How do I make it easy for them? Like a customer, they are now my customer. My employees are now my customer. So I think short answer to that is having the right intentions of creating an impact to be an HR rather than capturing or catching the role itself.
Agree. And what would you say, or what would be your comment that a lot of HR would have this mindset that HR is a thankless job and
Uh,
it's not financially rewarding? Would you like to correct that, Jonathan?
yeah, I mean, if you look at and dive deeper on this on a technicality, Coach Darwin, you would see, and if you are, because all of us are HR here, I would assume eventually some future HR folks, right? I would assume that you have tackled on job architecture. When you do the job architecture, you would define what niche roles are being valued in the market. And I gotta tell you, HR is a niche role that is being valued differently from the rest of the roles in the industry, right? And when I say value, that comes with monetary. That comes with the salary range that is available for you. Now, I'm not gonna say that it's the most expensive out there. I'm not gonna lie in front of you now and say no. You should be paid well in HR, but putting us in a niche role gives us an advantage. And again, going back to my first point, Coach Darwin, no, don't look at it that way, because the moment that you start looking, oh, sabi ni Tam, sa kaning Coach Darwin, malaki bayad sa HR, I'm gonna go there. I want to get promoted to be an HR person. No, go in there as well with the right intentions, but at least identify uh, what the money, if the intentions of it, because it's not going to be automatic that you're going to get rich, no, because it's not always like that. But as you progress in your career, Coach Darwin, I'm sure everyone is familiar here, HR even has different levels.
Agree.
Start with generalist, become a specialist, become a leader, become multi-market, or from single market to multi-market to global. And as you go into those specific career ladder in HR, that's an opportunity for us to earn money. Also, I just want to plug this, Coach Darwin. The reason why I'm here, I said yes to you and to Jake, is because I'm paying it forward on how I have started and built my life, and now I am supporting my family. And I think I would assume that we are having a comfortable life. And thanks to HR and thanks to the shared service industry. That's why I'm giving back.
Agree. So going to your main topic, and I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for it. Your topic is about building resilience for
Yes.
organizations at the time of AI and automation. A lot of HR folks in the last past months, wherein AI has been progressing, bots have been progressing,
Yeah.
even HR leaders somehow are very worried in terms of using the latest HR technology and AI. Reason for it is that they think that nako mawawalan kami ng trabaho. Pangalawa,
Mhm.
nako bababawasan kami ng tao kasi when you say HR use of HR technology, it will streamline the headcount of my department. Third is that people would be or leaders would be more um attuned in just using AI instead of having a face-to-face conversation with a real person, di ba? So there are a lot of worries. There's a lot of challenges in terms of of shifting the mindset, even in the HR community, to really embrace the use of HR tech, AI, and bots and automation per se. But reality is, companies would scale up and would strive if we totally embrace the new technologies that we have, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, based on research, I saw research where companies who utilizes AI, bots, and what do you call this? Uh, uh, Automation increases their productivity by more than 20%. So imagine the impact of that in terms of revenue. So this is something that we need to look into. How can we, as HR leaders or HR professionals, look into the current HR technologies available out in the market, being able to identify which of these technologies would fully support our organization, and at the same time, create a game plan within the HR department on how HR would be putting more value, even if we're using AI or even if we have technology in place in our organization. So that's why we look forward to your discussion for today. Would you like to share your presentation again? Sorry.
Yes, sure, Coach Darwin. Without preempting my presentation and while I set that up, I just want to answer your first question, right? Like, I'm not gonna. Well, I'm gonna quote Jamie Dimon. We all know Jamie Dimon, right? Head CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. He wrote an article, and he was quoted in an article that no one should bury their heads in the sand about the reality of AI, because it is happening. exactly what you said, Coach Darwin, is what's going to happen. But I know most of you, if not all, have heard this. But AI will not replace a job of people, or will not replace people, but it would replace the people who doesn't use AI. So my always analogy on that is the haircut, the barberos, no? Before, puro gunting. It's all just scissors, and they were afraid of using the razor because, it's it's just new technology for them. But now you would barely see people using your scissors, especially in the US. Barely they would just use your scissors just to from a little styling, but they would barely do that now because that's how um, we have embraced technology. No, so again, without preempting, Coach Darwin, some of your questions may be answered in the presentation. So I'd like to welcome you all in our in my presentation. I know it will take 20 to 25 minutes, but feel free to stop me because obviously I talk a lot. I love talking. That's why I'm into this space. But I hope I would add value to our organization in HR, and answer some of the questions of Coach Darwin directly and indirectly, because I don't want to be putting out myself out there as the expert, that the only expert who can answer all those questions. But most of the experiences that I'll share with you all would be what I would be hearing around in the industry, and at the same time, what we have been doing. So without further ado, I'm just going to go right in through it. Um, Let's warm up a bit. Oh, sorry, Coach Darwin, you're about to add something. You're on
Yeah,
mute.
before that,
Mm.
again, for all of those people who are watching us right now live, please tag all your friends, share it across social media so that more people will learn for today's episode of the HR Cafe. And I would like to give the floor to the HR leader, the APAC HR leader of Food Panda, Mr. Jonathan Tam.
Thank you, Coach Darwin. Thank you, Coach Darwin. I would really love to tag all of my family and friends so they can see me there here. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to prepare that much for today because I just came from another speaking engagement in Singapore. Very successful one, I would say, based on the feedback, where we represented Philippines. So go Pilipinas. Despite of the things that's going on, I think we have the Filipino pride to be really proud of. So, but I'm not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about AI. You know, this is not a buzzword. AI, you've been hearing about this for sure. It might be AI again, AI na naman. There was even a point in the conference when the panelists were saying, "Oh, are we gonna still talk about AI?" People have been talking about it already. We already heard from different names of AI bots. We heard from Amigo, we heard from Syria. We know there's a lot of different names already, but we're just gonna dive in on the practical side, right? So, but before we do, I don't know how many are or have joined, and we can see that quickly later. But whoever is online right now, feel free to go to menti.com and key in the code 46379619, and answer the question: how ready is your organization for AI and automation? Right? At least for that you know of, right? We don't know, you don't necessarily have to present yourself as the main representative of your organization, but the way you see it, are you very ready? Are you somewhat ready? Are you not there yet? Still exploring and identifying what that is? Or what is AI again? Don't know, right? So yeah, come on, just little interaction from the audience that we have right now, and see where we are in your organization today, and answer this question, so that we can showcase and talk about where we can pick up from this discussion. Let's give it a few minutes, so we can get folks answering this question. Again, the code is 46379619. Um, and if you are gonna watch this video after this live session, we you can always still answer that. The code is available for 2 days, so it will still be available until tomorrow anyway. So feel free to answer that in a bit. Okay. Now, since you have answered that self awareness, right, self assessment, I just want to go back to the memory lane where, you know, why we're talking about this, because change is the only constant, and that's as cliche as it may go. But as a refresher, back in 2020, March 15, we had the shutdown in the Philippines because of COVID. HR is in the middle of it, right? HR is um, kind of in the forefront of the change that's going on. How do we enable remote work adoption in the organization, right? And then 2022, we coined the Great Resignation. People have started to say and look at, hey, I want to go to an organization who offers hybrid, who offers work from home, and various reasons for why people are leaving organizations. And then soon after that, the rise of AI, or Gen AI, and process automation. AI did not start in 2023. I want to clarify that. It has started years ago. Um, I think 10 years or so, we already heard about bots. We heard about RPAs. We heard about cloud. We heard about those fancy technologies, but it was still a concept. Some are using it, some are not using it. So I don't know if you all remember back in the day where we were just shifting to use Microsoft Teams from conducting our meetings because we were so used to having face to face interaction, and now we are online, right? So gone are the days that it's figuring out the Microsoft Teams, because now the bot can actually write your email for you. So that's how AIs have augmented our ways of working, which is a bit scary. That's why, as from Coach Darwin's question earlier, right? It's a bit scary because it looks like it's gonna replace the jobs of the people who's doing the transactional ones, which honestly it could, right? And later on we'll talk more about that as we go along in the presentation. Now, if you notice, it's 3 R's, and I did not invent this 3 R's for the sake of having a cool kind of code in doing presentations, but it is because we've been talking about this for quite a while now, right? We've been talking about this for years, and I just want to make sure that we look at how we can approach this as HR to help our organization as well to adapt to the change. The first one is we reassess. We reassess what is our understanding of the actual impact of AI versus automation. I'm gonna borrow the term. Sometimes we thought that automating something is already AI, but it's actually manumating it. It's a manual thing that you do that you're trying to automate. So we're gonna do explore that in a bit later. Re-lead, because new leadership playbook would tell us how do we empathize in this era of AI. Because again, we don't bury our heads on the sand on this one, because it's gonna happen. Jobs will be replaced with AI, but we can prepare our people to be ready to replace that job that they are losing because of AI, right? And then of course we rebuild, not the build activity, but we're rebuilding the resilience recipe to clear up what is the proper culture that we can instill in our organization to promote safety. Of course, the safety net, the security that our employees are looking for, and to upskill them to adapt into this new era. All right, now we are reassessing. So we're giving here some relatable examples. No, first, the Roomba. We know the Roomba, the vacuum. No, it cleans the room, um, but it what it does as a function is it repeats defined simple tasks like cleaning the room, just walk around the room, roam around, get the dirt on the floor, and it would just go back to the charger, and that's it. Versus the Tesla, you know, I had the pleasure to ride the Tesla last night, and it's super amazing from a friend, not my car. And it's super amazing how technology can really make your driving comfortable. And true enough, it makes complex decisions or judgment because it can park your car. It can tell you that you might hit a pedestrian because you can see it on your monitor. So it's very smarter than the Roomba's function, basically. Impact of it. It again eliminates repetitive tasks because you don't have to vacuum your floor. Siya nagagawa nun. But on the other side, on the AI kind of intelligence side of it, it changes cognitive tasks, right? It gives you an analysis like, hey, Jonathan, you actually drove in this location um, on this hour of the day. Are you going back? No, it may not be even just Tesla, right? If you notice your Waze now, it has AI wherein if it's given a given time of the day, it would tell you, are you driving home? You just have to click yes, and then it will go back to your route. Now, expected action from HR is we redeploy people doing the work. Um, because from the time that the people who were mopping the floor or vacuuming the floor, since Roomba can do it now, we gotta move them as HR before, right? To somewhere that needs to have like heavy lifting, physical activity more that is meant for people to do. Versus now with automation, what our call to action now as HR is to reskill ourselves on how to drive the car, how to make sure the car operates the way it should help us and augment our day to day. That's our job as HR. We want to make sure that we have enough reskilling avenues and things like this. Itong HR Cafe, right? This is an example of how do we bring people in our organization to adapt to the new technology that is coming to our organizations. Now, as HR, rightfully said earlier during the introduction, we are the business partners. And one of the things that we want to challenge our leaders today is that they should be driving tech transformation and not be shying away from it. Answering to Coach Darwin's question earlier, how do we make sure that our leaders in the organization are adapting to AI automation rather than getting scared of it? So the more that we drive tech transformation, the more that it becomes the norm in our organization. And that's part of our culture building as HR. That's kind of part of our activity as well in making sure that we build that safe learning space because that is the new norm. Again, going back to the example before with the barber, right? If you own a barber shop and you don't buy your proper razors, mapag-iiwanan ka. Like you would lose the number of customers because it cuts faster and cleaner, crisper than the regular scissors. And fast and time is money, as we all know in the business. The more customers that we bring in because we're faster, the more money that we can get to our people and to our business. And second, keep people engaged, right? And again, that's the reason why this is the responsibility of the leaders, not just by HR, is because we want to manage the fear that the jobs are being replaced without getting something out of it. So the more that we keep and involve our teams engaged in this change, the more that they would feel that they're inclusive. And I'm going to give an example of that, right? Yeah. So an example, we show some empathy, right? There's a veteran tech where he's been doing the drone, the tech field responsibility for 30 years, and now we're replacing it with a drone. Before, if you are not driving the right environment and culture, you would just say, sorry, Jose, your job is gone. I'm sorry, but you got to find a new job somewhere. Um, as a change, here's what we should do. We should be empathetic about it and say, hey, you know what? You've been very good with what you do, and we really value what you know in operating in this space. Your eye is very special for us, so we need you to be training the drones on what to look for in this specific area. And your role is now the chief AI trainer for this drone in this manufacturing space, right? You see the difference in there, right? Versus that just letting go, versus that we are telling them that, hey, we need you in this journey. Because, yes, we really need the people in this journey to operate and train because AI still learns from humans on how to operate things. So, um, another way for us to build into that characteristic of having a culture that is adaptable to AI change is that the new way and the old way. So let's start with the old way, right? Old way, before you wouldn't hear anything about it. That, hey, we're actually secretly planning to implement an AI chatbot in HR, for example. Um, that creates a perception from people that, oh, so people who's answering queries, our jobs will be replaced now. I mean, I'm going to lose my job, and I would now start to find another job that I can be better. Then you lose your people. Versus the new way that when we create that transparency and inclusion, people would know, okay, in this next 6 months, I need to study how to do prompts. And that would allow me to make sure that I would be important to the organization because I would help build that AI, and that elevated my job to be from a transcriber or a fulfiller to become an AI tech person. So imagine that if you put that in your resume. I mean, that's amazing, right? Like, you are now a tech person, you are now an AI averse person. So that would raise your value as an individual, and that would raise your ability to be hired by organization who's looking for that um, kind of expansion of responsibility. Okay, so I hope everybody's still with me. I know I can't see the audience, it's hard to interact, but I don't want it to be just one download. So I hope everybody's still catching up on the culture that we're trying to build. And all of it is around HR responsibility in terms of making sure it happens in the organization. You might say, no, Tam, Jonathan, ano naman eh. What I do always is just, you know, um, issue memos, issue NTEs and all. It doesn't apply to me. No. The moment anything that you do in your organization, you have an impact to that. So with that example, no, I'm writing NTEs naman, etc. Why don't you help automate it? Build the tool to make it a rule-based tool for leaders out there and say, hey, you know what? I had an employee who had an absence issue from the absence tracking tool. Have that absence tracking tool develop a rule wherein if it reaches this specific number of days, it can create a letter that automatically gets sent out to the employees and to the manager, right? That's automating it, right? So imagine the time that will be cut by monitoring, deciphering if we need to write a paper, or actually writing the paper and printing it out and then sending it to the office desk, and all that stuff being replaced by that automated cycle. That's our role. So don't think of yourself as, I have a very specific role in HR. No, think about in your very specific role in HR, how do you drive technology and AI to make it better for you, and at the same time enhance what you do in your respective space. Now, um, just a little guide, right? AI excels at these things. repetition, it doesn't sleep. So 24/7, it can run the code that you coded. It can do complex calculation and data synthesis, and generate those information and kind of give you an analysis right off the bat. Versus you reading it one by one, you can have AI to give you a summary. So remember, I don't know if you see Gmail, if there's a long thread that you got recently copied in, you can just look at the summary. This is what the email looks like, and this is what it says. You don't have to go through each and every correspondence, because there's a summary. Drafting first pass. I'm gonna be honest. That's why I did not remove this space. If you see here on the far right lower, um, this slide was made by AI. Thank you, Gamma. So you can go to gamma.com. You can either subscribe or you can get free for a certain number of slides that you can create. But it gave me my first pass, and now I just edited the images. I added some, humor aspect of it, like this GIF, the GIF that you see there. That's me now, but this AI image, that is from that tool. So it gives you the first pass on what you can do, and then do your complex judgment on how to make the presentation better. You give the navigating ethical dilemmas and legal ambiguity that technology doesn't know yet, right? It may have already adapted already because of GDPR for those who are working in Europe. There's a lot of various regulatory activities that is out there. The Denmark law, about AI and deepfake, right? Us as individuals, as human beings, could decipher that and break that code. Um, we can be creative. We should be the creative one, not AI, not the other way around, right? I always say this, that AI can produce amazing stuff if you know the right prompts. And right prompts comes from the human beings. Yung uso ngayon sa Facebook, like creating your images and all. Guess who thought of it? Siyempre tao, us, right? We thought of it, somebody somewhere discovered the right prompt, somebody somewhere wrote the code and shared it with people, and that became a norm, that became a viral thing, right? You guessed it right. It didn't come from AI directly. So it still came from a human being who navigated around that and shared that out. Strategic empathy. Computers, no feelings at all. Regardless of how you try to make it, the meme, diba? If you say thank you or please with ChatGPT and all in Gemini, you would be spared and all that stuff. They don't. They don't care about it, because they are learning the ways of working as efficient as they can, but they don't have feelings. So I just want to, unless you're a fan of what's that movie, um, where the guy fell in love to the AI. I forgot the name of the movie, but they've been making movies about that, but no, they don't have feelings at the end of the day. And curiosity, I'm sure they would ask good questions, but the best curiosity or the best curious question, the disruptive questions, would always come from the people who experience it day in and day out. That's us being human beings. So, how do we rebuild the psychological safety within our organization? Um, and we can only build that by doing incorporating it in our day to day, like AI playtime hour. You incorporate it as gamifying it. You incorporate it with your um, engagement activities that you do, so that it gets built into the minds of people that AI is good and I need to learn AI. No blame policy. If there's like AI, often when we see presentations, no, may the issue somewhere in Facebook or social media, pagka anim yung daliri, that's AI, that sucks AI, fails, etc. Um, it's not the user who failed in that situation, but it's the proper prompting and the editing and the thought process and the discretion of the individual. So do not blame them and put them on the spot that, oh, si Tam, kasi mali yung kinode in AI and that's why we're getting, this heat in social media. So I'm gonna blame you. No. Rather, entertain the idea that we should be developing as any other skill set before AI. We build our environment to help develop our people. Executive modeling. I've been saying this across all of the conferences that I have been part of, that it should be a top-down approach, right? It can never be just a buzz from the front line and going up and driving that. The moment that it comes from a sponsor, it creates that big impact that the business is serious in elevating the people to their skill set. So to all you leaders watching right now or later in the recording, the call to action is we have to elevate the experience of our people by making sure that we are an advocate of upskilling and elevating our people within our organization around AI. Right. Um, so see, something went wrong with my slides right now. I don't know what that is, but I will try to fix that. But that's part of AI. But still, you still have me, and I can still present and continue with my presentation, which is right just about now. I'm gonna reshare my screen. Give me a few seconds. There you go. And I did not blame anyone with that mistake of it not showing because it's part of technology, right? So I did not intentionally do that, just to let everybody know. I was just buying some time. So now HR as the resilience architect. It's a big ask for us. It's a big ask, I know. But I like what I started when we talked and I talked to Coach Darwin. It's a shared responsibility between the operations leaders and us. But as HR, our top of mind is that we should be the change communicator. Um, we should ensure that the change management coming from the leaders, coming from the individuals, and even from us, we are clear that we are adopting the technology and making sure we tell the why. Again, as cliche as it may sound, we should always tell the why. And our why is that we want to elevate our responsibilities as individuals in our organization and improve ourselves to be the better version of us by adapting to technology. Because as one of the speakers rightfully said last Thursday, we are at the point of no return. And there's no finish line in this. We can't ask ourselves and say, hey, you can only do this at this given period, and by 2028 or 2030, you're done with your AI automation, and you should move forward with something else. No, it's we are at the point of no return on this one. It's going to be an evolution and continuous journey for this one. And that's why we need to be a capability builder. We need to upskill our teams into the programs. And this is first step. Attending seminars like this, attending conferences, or subscribing to learning courses in LinkedIn or different platforms that talks about AI, because most of the time it's actually redundant now. But the more that we make it redundant to people, the more that they would imbibe it um, to their day-to-day experience. And overall, that shapes our culture in the organization. And again, culture is not just HR's job, but we are the main people to drive this so that we can build that culture together with our leaders as one organization. And as a call to action for us in HR, we also should be prioritizing having this mindset of how do we build the right culture. And as an example of it would be the first two I shared. You do a proper change communication and you build the capability and you talk about AI all the time, and that itself is already a culture, right? So, um, change leadership toolkit. It's kind of like a rundown of what we've talked about earlier. Assess readiness. We should have a clear narrative of what we're trying to do. And the more that we clear that narrative, the why that I just shared earlier, the more that we make it easier for people to follow the transformation because they are part of it. They know what's going on. We communicate across channels, right? So some of us are leading town halls. We have our internal platforms. We have our people portals. We have our chatbots. And we ensure in our one-on-ones when we drive it to our leaders that, hey, business leader, we should always talk about this as part of how you could relate your performance to adapting to this new change in technology. Um, Another example is another perfect or big ask for us is to create a safe space. Um, in the last SSON here in the Philippines, not the one in Singapore, I think back in August, there's one organization, and I don't want to quote it because I want to keep it that way, but they even started a no fire policy or no firing policy if it's connected to AI evolution. That's a bold decision from the top management because that can only be made possible if we are ready um, with our ecosystem to reskill, upskill our individual contributors or people teams or our teams themselves. That would enable us to find a job for them within our organization. I mean, that's a bold one, but that's not impossible, right? It is not against the law, definitely not against the law, but that is something that we aspire to get into because that means that we are ready to embrace this change. And of course, we track adoption. As we all know, in this industry, data is king. So the more that you track your progress, the more that you get to see yourself and um, gauge yourself against the industry standards. And again, I've been blurring out a lot of cliches, but you cannot improve something that you cannot see. And the more that you track it, the more that you can create your action plan on how you can be better as an organization. And yes, HR is responsible for it too in a specific way because people analytics is the big thing right now. We are not just supplying data, but we are providing an analysis of why are we having this much of attrition? Why are we having absences on a given day? Or why is it hard to hire a talent in this area? That can also be answered by data. And that's why it's important for us in HR to have people analytics to be on top of our mind. And similar to that, we are tracking adoption through data on how we have progressed in this journey of AI and automation in our workspace. Key takeaways: change is accelerating. It's not slowing down. If you remember 2020, 2022, 2023 to 2025, it's super fast and it's going to be faster. It's not going to stall. So we must make sure our leadership remains up there to drive our teams in the HR team and our business partners all together. Resilience is built through culture, communication, and capability. Again, I'm going to circle that in, double click on that, double down, however you want to call it nowadays. But resilience is not just a Filipino thing, right? It's about how you build that resilience within your organization through having an effective culture, communication, and capability. And yes, HR plays a vital role in making sure that we adopt AI as humane as possible and as sustainable as we can, um, because we are at the forefront of upskilling and building our respective teams. And with that, I want to thank you all for joining our Asia Cafe episode 216. I would really take this as a very big privilege for me to say that I was able to be part of Asia Cafe and its episode 216. I will for surely remember that. So, it's your turn. I'm throwing back Coach Darwin on the screen. There you go. Coach Darwin, welcome back.
Thank
I
you,
just
Jonathan.
want to foster some discussion before we wrap this up.
Sure, sure. There are questions that was sent to me. As an HR leader, how can you make sure that your organization is future ready and the workforce is future ready? I think he's asking for more of a strategy in aligning AI-driven business goals to HR goals in developing an HR ready team, an AI ready HR team.
So I can answer that, Coach Darwin, in two ways, right? The first one with HR specific as HR teams, we can prepare ourselves by adapting to the what's going on right now, upskilling ourselves and understanding what is AI. That's why if you notice, I really kind of peg on let's know what AI is. Let's know what Gen AI is. Let's know what is augmented AI or simply automation. Separate the two. Once you know that, you can start to look at opportunities, which is what I kind of gave you an example earlier, that in the simple ways of working in your respective area, you can suggest automation. The moment that you instill that in our HR team, they are on board. But the moment that they are apprehensive of thinking about automation or fostering AI, then you gotta do the second part together with the rest of the organization, which is upskilling. As HR, some of our HR has the L&D, Learning and Development team, within our scope. Some it is separate, but it is still gonna be under the HR realm. Um, that is the first. Make sure that we have enough learning kind of platforms for people to understand AI, so that the next step for us is to make sure that we include them, because now they know. And the moment that you include them, that would give you the right mindset for people to say, hey, I am part of this change. I want to be part of this change. And I will be part of this change and contribute to this advocacy because this is what's happening. And the last of it is that we recognize it as to celebrate what AI achievement you have in your organization by those individuals. If you have AI champions, that would be an initiative that you can do as HR. You can ask for a budget from your operations leader because it's fostering, again, learning. But at the same time, you are now building that culture from the beginning of telling what is AI, including them into it by training them and by recognizing what they have accomplished as a team. And as an HR organization, um, those are within our remit because we are responsible for learning and development. We are responsible for communication somehow, somewhere, comms, town halls. We are part of the people drafting the agenda, and at the same time we are employee engagement, as we were talking about it is a shared responsibility between operations, but we can as HR suggest that, hey, we should recognize the people who's embracing the change already. And I think I want to go back to this, Coach Darwin, where we create um, no, where we create the safe space for individuals. And again, it's as bold as it could be that the no hire policy, if it's related to AI, is bold. But again, if we have prepared for it, if we are ready to upskill, not just redeploy, but reskill our teams, they would always have a space in our organization, right? Um, and that is as HR. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that, Tam, what about the 11,000 count? What if it's 2,500 head count or 20,000 that organization wants to remove the people in the organization? We can do as much. I want to be, pragmatic and, honest with you all. we can do as much. But to the question, the preparedness is the key to this, and that's kind of the level of preparedness that I wanted to share with everybody that works for individuals.
Got it, got it. Now, one of the, I think, fears of people who are newbies in HR tech or AI is in terms of how can we, as HR leaders, ensure that AI implementation enhances, not erodes, employee engagement and well-being. Because again, you're not talking to someone, you're talking to a bot. You're not able, are how sure are the employees that they're getting the right information? How sure are they that the bot would have aspects of being able to engage or being able to understand their issues and concerns or whatnot? So what do you think would be the strategy in terms of ensuring that AI implementation again enhances, not
Yeah.
erodes employee engagement and well-being?
That's a very good question, Coach Darwin. I don't know if it came from you or from the audience, but that is spot on. I was literally doing a chat with a chatbot. I'm not gonna name the brand, um, but it was all chat, and we just went on loop, and my issue wasn't resolved. But the beauty of it is that there's an option to really speak to a person. Because at the end of the day, that's why I went back to this slide, is that
Mhm.
we have the complex judgment to identify what has not been taught of to the AI technology, to make it more personal. Um, and the second part of it, um, Coach Darwin, is that in the workforce, and this is a study that came about, what, 2024, and I've shared this in the conference as well, that 77% of our current workforce are now millennials and Gen Z. And as we know, our generation, trying to be Gen Z, our generation woke up with technology. That is what we know. That is what we trust. We don't often trust anymore calling because, oh, that's too hassle. I don't want to speak. I just want to chat, right? So generationally, in terms of our jobs, in terms of our workforce, most of our employees that we support as HR are now millennials and Gen Z, which are averse into technology. So, one, they understand that technology may be like this, but two, let's make sure that we still have that option to be personal with all of our services, because again, I am still human. I still need human to help me at certain points.
Agree, agree. Another good question that was sent to me here is with regards to ethics in using AI. I
Oh yeah.
mean, I've heard a lot of leaders, recruiters na wag yan yung resume niya AI or wag yan yung presentation niya AI or wag yan kasi yung data na ginamit niya galing AI. What ethical guidelines should HR help establish around the use of AI in hiring, performance management, and decision making?
Oh, that's a very specific question, Coach Darwin, because I was just listening into a podcast with Bam Aquino,
Mhm.
good times. Obviously, we all know that he is kind of building or
Blockchain
the
technology.
blockchain law. Yes, the blockchain
Mm.
law. But the key feedback that he got from that blockchain law is that you don't um, hindi ka gagawa ng batas for a specific tool. You create a law for the full concept of technology. And
Mhm,
that
mhm.
itself tells us that there's no specific law or ethics yet about how people should use AI, right? Obviously, there are those that are very specific now, like the Denmark law about deepfake, because that's
Mhm,
worrying,
mhm.
right? That's worrisome that, you put my face into somebody else's body, you create an issue about it, make it viral, destroys that person's life. That's why there's Denmark law. But for us in like the specific workforce, it is still going to be part of our complex judgment. as human beings. That's why you don't ask AI to filter your filters in your resume screening. You filter what is you, meaning human being, filter what AI already filtered. That's where we throw in our strategic thinking, our complex judgment, because there's no still specific reason for or ethics for us to say, no, I can't accept you because you use AI. Um, and I'm not just saying this because I use AI in this slide, but this slide made by Gamma made my life easy. It gave me the time to really prepare for this talk, to really prepare for this talk as a conversation, like just for the sake of everyone. Coach Darwin and I doesn't have a script. We don't have a prepared line of questions. But because of this preparation that AI helped me draft my first pass, um, that allowed me to be more complex, to give my complex judgment and discretion in the topic that we're talking. Now, it's a different story if you really just revolve around it. And you, as a human individual, as a recruiter, that's why AI is not replacing recruiters, right? Because the moment that you talk and you think that this person is looking at chat gpt and providing answers from a scripted question, because that happens now, right? Like they have
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
screen and all that. Even
We've
now,
seen videos where applicants being interviewed online would actually have another monitor that
right?
would answer the questions of the interviewer, right?
Exactly. And now a human being is still responsible to do a complex judgment, but we cannot make it a law or an ethics and say, no, I can't do that. But if you think that that person is overly reliant on just AI and loses this human touch, that's where you make your judgment and say, all right, this is his the person. I give you feedback. You're overly reliant with AI. Maybe you can leverage that person with something else, because I gotta tell you, if he does that well, he's good at prompts. And if you need someone who good at prompts, you hire that person to be your prompt engineer, because he was
Okay.
able to do that really well, and that tells you that he's very good at prompts. So, and again, I know it's a long answer to an ethics question, but there's no governing law at this point that I know of. I may be wrong. Anyone can correct me on this one. But aside from the things like the Denmark law that is a trademark for deep fake, the blockchain law that is being trying to be passed on by Senator Bam, there's no specific ethics yet to say, okay, you're not following this, we can build a case for you, and or we cannot hire you or whatever, right? We still go back to our complex judgment as human beings.
Agree, agree. You've made several critical points in terms of how HR leaders, people leaders can really drive the mind shift of organizations in embracing AI, and how as HR team members can be able to utilize, optimize technology,
Mhm.
not only to streamline processes, but really more to provide more time for us to do jobs that are more not really transactional, but more strategic, diba?
Yes.
So I think I would like to give you the floor again for your last words with regards to your topic. And also, I would like you to invite the listeners, live listeners right now, as well as the people who will be listening, hundreds of people who will be listening through our what you call this replay since it's recorded in LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. What should they focus on in terms of their career in utilizing AI, and if ever they would be needing some coaching and mentoring, or if you yourself are providing any consulting or training that you have, please share it to them.
Yeah, thank you, Coach Darwin. Again, I said it at the beginning. I want to thank you for inviting me. Jake, special shout out because Jake, you did reach out. So maraming salamat for entrusting me this topic. And I am very passionate about it, if you can notice, because this is my way of um, paying forward. Um, Again, Coach Darwin had a question. Is HR a lucrative job? May not be the top in the hierarchy, but I say that is the most impactful, one of the most impactful in any organization. Before, we don't have a seat at the table, um, because we are often just being seen as transactional. We are often being seen as someone they would just tap on if somebody messes up. But now, because of AI, because of data, not just AI, but because of data, because of how we have evolved our role in the business, because now we are proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we provide some data points to the business. We are now having a seat at the table, and it's a very good time to be part of HR, because we are at that. And um, the the part of me doing the pay it forward, if you want to reach out to me, if you have, conventions or conferences, or if you have, school activities, right? Because we have future HR leaders listening in as well.
Agree, agree.
I did something for UP, Masteral as well. I did a talk about AI. Feel free to invite me for at the no cost. That's my way of paying it forward to this industry,
Giving it back to the community.
giving it back to the community, and it has done very, very good for myself, for my families on
Agree.
giving back. So if you want to do that, just scan the QR code in LinkedIn. That's a LinkedIn QR code. Again, I don't have any other platforms that I use because I'm just solely focused on LinkedIn. Um, so if you need anything like that, or if you want to bounce off an idea like, hey Tam, we're doing this chatbot and I need some guidance on it. Is it good to do this and that? I would love to do that chat with you, right? So I may reply a little later, depends on where I am in the world, but I will reply. Even the sales chats in LinkedIn, I reply to them. Um, so as a wrap up, you know, I'm just gonna repeat myself on this one. As HR, we are the catalyst of embracing the mindset of AI is here, and we are at the point of no return. And this journey has no finish line. And that's the reason why, as HR, we should embrace it, bring everybody at our backs, and say AI is our friend and help. But let's make sure that we upskill and not be complacent right now, because I think geopolitically, we have a bigger problem, especially in the contact center space. I know you're following the
Mhm.
news. There are some bills that are being passed somewhere that would possibly take our jobs. That's beyond control of AI, right? But as we enhance ourselves and we move past beyond customer service, um, as HR, we could bring and level up our teams and say, hey, we gotta be AI analytic person now, because that's what the new world is looking for. And that's what we should be embracing as HR. That's it. Thank you, Coach Darwin.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Ladies and gentlemen, our valued speaker for today, the APAC HR head for Food Panda, Mr. Jonathan Tam. Again, if you would like to reach out to him, he is available in LinkedIn. Just message him, and he is willing to provide his time also to, I mean, spread learning. Right, spread learning, being able to help mentor new HR folks that is coming into the fold. So again, thank you everyone for watching the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho, Buhay, Iba Pa. We'll see each other next week for another value-adding session every Sunday at 3 p.m. Bye everyone. Happy
Bye,
Sunday.
everyone. Happy Sunday. Have a blessed Sunday, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Coach Darwin.